It just becomes this whole thing. You get really involved, and I think that's what's amazing.
Which I think, wanting to become involved, I'm assuming a lot of people are going to feel inspired after this, Hawkeye, especially hearing your story and just the impact not only you guys have on that population, but the impact they have on you guys. Any advice to a clinician that's, wanting to get involved in their local street care team?
Just got to go out there. You just got to go out there and do it. I think if someone was very inclined to do that, to be, to help that, is you just got to go find the department and just be like, hey, I have wound care experience. I'm here to help. You know what I mean? And then as soon as you take that first step, you just have to open yourself to understanding all the dynamics involved with it, right? And we talked about this earlier. It's understanding that, like, hey, these patients don't have a home. These patients will have to worry about food. They have to worry about shelter. They have to do that. Being able to kind of accept that and make that, and modify the way you will treat these patients effectively. You know what I mean? Sometimes wound care nurses and nurses in general, they get very, like I mentioned earlier, task oriented. They get very like regimented. It's got to be this way or it's never going to work. You have to be able to adapt and modify and be flexible and agile in that sense to really make that kind of thing. And if you have the heart and the dedication to do it, it's rewarding. Now, is it going to be like as rewarding and as, instant, or you're going to get that gratification like instantly? No. This is a marathon. It's an ultra marathon. This is a triathlon, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? And you just got to chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away. But when it finally starts, when you start to see the benefits, when you start to see the outcomes that you're looking for, there's nothing more rewarding, man. At least in my assessment. But what do I know?
I would also say, like, if you're listening and you don't like you're new to wound care, or maybe you've been a nurse for a couple years bedside and you're interested in wound care, or just street care in general, like, don't be discouraged. Reach out to those groups if your hospital system has something like this, because I think even your experience will bring value to the team, right? And you'll learn and be more comfortable in, let's say, wound care specifically. But as Hawkeye mentioned, this is a holistic approach. So if you can benefit in another way, or doing, a head to toe, or assessing their mental health, if you're in psych, like whatever it is, I think good clinicians, that's what we need, right? Good clinicians who are passionate about helping is what we need. So don't be disheartened if you're like, oh, I only have a year experience. Who cares? You may have something that benefits the team. Like, I would rather you get out of your comfort zone and ask and be a part of it and do a ride along. Like, I can't speak for other centers, but I think UCLA, like, anytime we're like, someone's interested, can they do a ride along? They're like, let's go. We want to show you, because they want to show people this side of care. And you can really see that, and if that's something that would work for you. But I just feel like there's this group of clinicians out there that's what your heart speaks to. And I would say do it, because I think it's so rewarding and it's so cool to do. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and if I could do it every day, I would. But I think anyone who has that passion, like, just do it. Just ask, seek it out.
Yeah, 100% seek it out. Seek it out and get after it. That's the only thing I would say. Because if you just, and then the other thing to that too is, like, if you go out there and you realize, oh no, it's not for me, it's all good. You know what I mean? It's all good, because if you don't know, how are you going to know if you never try, right? Some individuals that are like, oh, I want to get down, I want to, be a part of that. They get out there and then they see the kind of environments that you work in and stuff like that, and you're just like, ooh, this is rough.
You're like, not for me.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a good point, Hawkeye, because even when I was a teacher, you could see that within the teacher community of, teachers want to help the kids from high risk environments. They want to be there with, the Title I schools, and then they go and teach at a Title I school, and they're like, never mind.
Yeah.
Let me get back to the other school where I have parents that are supporting kids that are coming in with full bellies, clean clothes, right? I can't do that. I love them. I love the other students, everything like that. But, and I think it's like the same, right? Some clinicians, their heart's in it, but maybe they have too much, feel too much when they're out there, and it becomes overwhelming for them.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
in the teacherscape, right? Some of those students aren't for every teacher, just like those patients aren't for every nurse, even if your heart's in the right place. So I think that's, important for everyone to kind of understand. Like, yeah, don't feel bad if you get out there and you're just like, oh, not for me. Like, I can support from the sidelines all I can, but not for me. So,
Yeah. And again, just being involved with that, right? If that is something you want to do, maybe, you are a wound care nurse and you have some experience and, the street team needs that. Maybe you can provide that education for them. Maybe you can think, but just, you just got to do it, to know if it's going to be right for you or not. And if it's not, then hey, it's not, you know what I'm saying? But I will say that, for me personally, one experience, my very first ride along, we went to a camp, which was in an underpass. And I was just like, even me, and I was like, "Oh, this is dodgy." You know what I mean? There's one way in and one way out, and I was just like, "We're gonna go deep into this camp." You know what I mean? So yeah, it's an experience, and if it's for you, it's for you.
My first ride along, I was a little scared also. I mean, I'm 5 foot nothing. So and I luckily I got Hawk, and they had security, but it was scary. Especially because sometimes I feel like, especially with mental health, these individuals may choose you as like that's who they want to connect with, that's who they want to engage with, and this person did, and he just it was a new environment for me, and so I was getting a little close, and I was like, oh my god, like you never know what happens, and this could happen anywhere. I'm not saying because of a street care, like we've had dodgy patients in clinic as well that do some things, but it was an adjustment, definitely out of my comfort zone. But then, trusting in my skill, trusting in my team, like they got me. I knew if something happened, like I'd be okay. But it can be scary. So I don't want to take that lightly either. If that's something you're nervous about, it can be. But again, find out about the team, find out what resources and who they're bringing out. Like they will never send out a crew without security, which I think is really great. And you never go alone, right? Like you're at least in a threes at the very least. Yeah. So it's really nice. It's really nice, the type of support, but I wanted to kind of lean into on the opposite side. Like if you're a hospital or you're of a part of a clinic that you guys have been wanting to do street care, because I know they've had like street care in Orange County that we've talked to a lot of groups. And I will say the reason why I'm impressed the most with UCLA's homeless healthcare initiative is they really took the full approach, and it's really quite impressive. Like Hawkeye said, you can go in and we saw a patient that said, I need more meds, but I just can't get to the ED, or I can't get to here. And they're like, we can do it right here. They have the Epic system on the van. They have the pharmacy component because they have physicians on there, and they can dispense right away. So it's not this disengagement as well. Like, here's your prescription. Now they have to figure out where to get it. No, they can dispense it. Like, it's like a one-stop right there. They get everything that they need. And so I think if you're looking to expand this type of clinic and care, like, love to talk to you guys about, like, reach out. We would love to kind of share the experience that we've learned, because we've learned a lot from A to B, but also how can you make wound care more impactful, what type of engagement, what vendors you can possibly talk to and partner with, just from A to Z, like really the information that you need, like reach out. This is not something we're gatekeeping at all. Like we feel every community should have this, especially with the growing numbers of individuals being impacted by homelessness. Like we know it's growing. And so if there's an opportunity where we can help support, like please reach out. We'd love to share with you what we've learned. Yeah, what I wanted people to get out of this episode is if it's something that you feel like your community needs, it's possible. Two, if you as a clinician want to get involved, it's possible. There are ways to make this successful, because one thing, I don't know if you were involved, Haka. We had talked to a group similar, Kallie, that did it in Orange County. Very different and very like, they need more help. They were literally just going out with like a wagon and walking around and like just, yes, that's great. But it was, I think harder to sustain.
I think not just harder to sustain, but like you're not, yes, you are helping these people, you are having, all the good intentions, but also like, what are you doing more than just like, here's something, right?
No, and that's what I really loved about UCLA's approach is it's not just like, here's a Band-Aid and see you next time, right? It's like they're following through, which is
Mhm.
why, again, healing patients, it's freaking huge. Like, I just, that's so incredible. And I'm so excited to do case studies and like highlight like beginning to end, like what we were able to do.
I mean, we say this every time. This is our favorite episode, right? This one for me ranks right up with Suzanne talking about HS.
Now, I love our stories like this because I don't know, I love it when it's different than our not that what we do is mundane, but it can be, right? And I just think being able to view how what we do on our day to day can be so impactful outside of the four walls of our clinic, I think that's so special. And like street care is so near and dear to my heart. Like, I love that. And like doing that in other countries and like Thailand and the Philippines, totally different. Obviously, we don't have that same resource, but that's the level of care that I love is impacting the people that need it the most, our vulnerable populations, and that number is just growing, right? Like it's, I don't know, if one person out of this podcast takes this back and like to their maybe rural hospital or whatever hospital and is like, hey, I heard that WCA is working with UCLA and they're doing this great thing, and like they were talking about A, B, and C, and we never even thought about that. Like, is this something we can do? Like, then it's worth it. I, tenfold. Like, it just, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I think like, yes, I'm not from a clinical background, but I mean, I was a teacher for a long time in my past life with these students that are very much in the realm of being without a home as an adult, right? They come from extremely, like poverty. They're hungry. They don't have heat in the winter. And I'm in here in Utah, listeners, so our winters are brutal. Their parents are strung out on drugs. They're getting into drugs by the time they're in high school, right? And so it's one of those things that, I mentioned with Hawkeye, these ACE scores, and I think more clinicians need to be aware of it. As teachers, when we work with these, and I never say high-risk students, it's always students from high-risk environments. And I think that we can say the same with patients. They're not high-risk patients. They're patients from high-risk environments. And I say that because it's not their fault where they're at, right? Things happen to them in their life to put them there. Could they have made better decisions at one point? Absolutely. But when it comes to these ACE scores, you have to understand that the brain is rewired every time you experience something traumatic. And it could be as something as having parents that yell in the household. It could be any type of abuse. It could be any type of drug or alcohol addiction, whether it's you experiencing it or a member of your household. And each one of these factors really plays into the decisions of why you make it. And so I think it's important for not just teachers to be trained on this, but also clinicians, because like I know, Christina, with your experience of doing a lot of, this charity work and volunteering your expertise and things like that, you have a deep understanding of the whole human, not just the patient you're treating right now. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the UCLA team is every single person in that, on that team also sees the whole human. And I think if we can help maybe have more people understand childhood experiences, trauma, things like that, even if they're not going out and working on the street, they might become better to help the patients that are non-compliant, right? Why are these patients non-compliant? They don't trust you. So how can you, get them to trust you? How can you build that relationship with them? Maybe they're going like Hawkeye mentioned, in this interview, which you listeners will hear, is their home revolves around these wounds sometimes. So how can we help them really see them as a human and that they deserve more? And I think that's why, like, when you brought up, hey, can you help with education on the street too? I'm like, yes, 100%. I might not be able to go out there on the street and, provide the care, but what I can do is on the back end, make sure that the teams have everything they can to, care for these patients.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I love the fact that, and we like preach it all the time, but it's just because you're not doing that actual patient care doesn't mean you can't be impactful. And I think you and your team and a lot of people in our company show that. It's just because, yes, I get to see the patients and I get to see the results right then and there, but everyone that's supporting us is doing it as well. And I think that's why having that beautiful team effort and being able to, like, I can come to you and I'm like, Kallie, I love what you did, but like, we got to tweak it, right? Like, we got to tweak it a little bit because this doesn't count for our street team. They're not going to encounter this. We need to change it. And you guys are always like, yeah, like whatever we need to do, because it's not a one size fits all. We're always adjusting. We're always learning. And I love that we were able to adjust and modify and adjust again, because now things are changing again with this team and the care that they're providing. So I just think that's so cool.
It's been like, because when we first developed education, bare bones, literally what makes a wound, why does it become chronic? Here's some common wound types that you'll see out on the street. Here's some basic wound hygiene, and then some dressings, right? But from that very first...
Well, also, do you remember we're like, we're going to print out flyers. We're going to do pamphlets and da-da-da-da. And then after I was like, no, that's not going to work, Kallie. They hate paper. They don't want anything.
They don't want anything. And I think that was even, and that was, I was so grateful for the vendors that did support us on that, because, they had all these other grand ideas too. And we were able to come back to them like, okay, scratch all that. This is not what's going to happen. But anyways, what I was saying is it was really neat to see that first, like the first step we put together on the education to where it's evolved to now. Now we're actually getting into that deeper wound care education, things that we give out to our own clinics, right? To our own wound care nurses, because of their, how much they have evolved with their knowledge and just, that hunger to learn more. Like, okay, we got one wound closed, let's close them all. And I think that drive is, really what makes that team so special.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, if you guys really enjoyed this episode and have questions, or you want to be a part of something like this, or your hospital started something like this and it's not quite working, whatever it is, at whatever capacity, reach out. We're going to put the link below. Reach out and we would love to get these resources to you. Again, we're not here to gatekeep. We want to expand this program and we want more people to do it. And if that is just you guys have questions or need more resources, reach out. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Unwrapped Podcast. We hope that you found the information and insights provided to be helpful in your wound care journey. If you have any questions you'd like to be answered on the podcast, we invite you to connect with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And place your question or comment under the Unwrapped Podcast post. We look forward to bringing you more wound care insights. Thank you for listening.
With MyLuvo, everything is right there. I can see exactly who's coming in, how our patients are doing, and where we stand. No back and forth, no guessing. Documentation reviews, denial prevention tools, all built in. Training updates, staff reminders, wound care insights, done for you. No more emails, no more whiteboards. It's all in one place. Everything we need to track our performance and plan ahead. Patient volume, visits, revenue, collections, and admissions. Make wound care easy for your center. Start with MyLuvo.